Hey everyone, Karen the Warp Spinster here. Thank you for spending time with me today. I'm going to be doing something else with 2.5-inch squares, and never fear, I am going to edit this one. I appreciate all your votes on editing versus non-editing. You all just crack me up. I asked and you answered. I appreciate that, and I especially appreciate the people who were very kind and thoughtful in their response. So we're going to do more 2.5-inch square stuff edited. I have some 2.5-inch white squares and 2.5 solid colored squares, and then I have a strip which is left over from the mystery quilt. I got a little carried away apparently when I was sewing these together, so I have an extra strip, and I think I'll start with that. I also, as always, of course, you know I always have white strips and drips. I also have a few gray ones to try out, and then a black and white print. I have a project for which I bought all of these black and white prints that I have in storage. I have lots of strips of them, and I would love to show you that project, and I will someday, but I haven't tracked down the source of the idea. I can't remember where I got it, and I just don't want to show it without giving credit to the source for it. So this last time we did Funky Pineapple, and this time we're going to do a funky or wonky log cabin. Now this is not at all new in modern quilting. People do this all the time and they're wonderful. What I want to do a little differently that I don't remember seeing anywhere, it possibly has, is to use 2.5-inch square strips to do at least some of the logs on the cabin. So I've got this one. This one's going to be plenty long, but that's okay. I'm not sure I want to do this. I have pulled out these solid colored squares because I think that's the direction I want to go, but I already had this strip, so I want to give that a try. And I want to, well, I've got several decisions I can make along the way. Well, first of all, I need to decide, am I doing a courthouse steps or a regular log cabin, you know, half and half log cabin. Well, courthouse steps is half and half too. You know what I mean. Opposite corners, I guess. So, which do I want to do? When I've been picturing this in my head, it's been the more traditional, that's not even right. It's the log cabin with adjacent corners, like. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut this strip, and I want to do it roughly in half, but not necessarily straight. And I mean, it can be curved, but it also does not need to be parallel to the edges I already have. I'm still waiting for my new camera stand, so I hope this isn't going to wobble much. I'm trying to keep my hands off when I don't have to have them there, and I do my usual tapping fingers thing. So I'm just gonna do a slice here. I can make it pretty acute so that it's very narrow at spots, because I don't think I'll need them this long, but they could also be that narrow. I just want to make sure it's not so narrow that they get lost in the seam. So I'm just going to do it, see what happens. So now I have 2 strips to start on, and they can be pretty short strips at this point because I'm going to be starting with this 2.5-inch square. So I actually think I want to start, I think I want to do like a shorter, a narrower piece. Sure, I've got this in frame. Make this a narrower piece. And I want to get some of both of these in, so I'm gonna have a little bit of waste down here. And then I will sew that piece on, and then I will take this piece to sew across there. And then I have another decision to make. I will be back to make that decision. So here's that first piece, and actually having that extra strip on the end there, the extra, reminded me that I do not, of course, have to sew this in a perfectly square way. So that one's starting to run uphill a little bit. Now, my decision is, what am I going to do over here? I could do plain white, I could do plain gray, I could just do some solid strips over there. I think, I can't do more strips like this unless I have planned these strips so that I have, say, blues and greens over here and reds and yellows over here, so that there's some differentiation between the two corners. Or not. I mean, you of course can do whatever you want. It wouldn't really be a log cabin exactly. Not the more traditional look, but we're doing it wonky, so it doesn't matter. So yes, I could just keep building around with this and then have, I think, some strips in between. Let's go ahead and do that. I've got, of course, plenty here that isn't already represented in that strip. So let's do a piece like that. And then over here, that's going to kind of mimic what's there. So let's try, you know, I kind of do like this. I kind of do. I mean, those are going to match up, but I'm not too worried about that, am I? I think for the true effect, I'm going to piece another strip set of 2.5-inch squares that are a mixture of solids and prints, and then cut some strips from there. Because goodness knows I have enough 2.5-inch squares, right? And I will come back and show you when I have done that. I realized as I was sewing these squares together that I just said I kind of like it here, so I'm gonna have to get a mug or a sweatshirt or something that says I kind of like it. I made this strip set shorter because I don't need as much here at the beginning. So I will cut that and then use that on this half. This little, you know, I'm kind of wanting narrower pieces here, so I guess I'll cut it roughly in half and then I can trim them down a little bit more if I want to. Set one of these aside. Now I want to use that one, I think. Set that one aside. And now I'm going to sew this strip on and then that. I should note that when I pressed this strip set, the seams on the square strip set, I pressed them open because when you press a seam that is on this narrow a strip and you've got all that bulk of the seam, it's a bigger battle to press it that way than if they're pressed open. So I pressed those open to see how that would work. It's kind of turning into a fun shape because I decided not to follow this square with 90-degree corners there. And I like that. But rather than starting with another round of a strip over here, which would be a little too chaotic for my eye anyway, I think I want to put either a white strip in the next round. Could be all the way around since I'm doing an all the way around look here. And then do another set, which gives the eye a little break as it's looking at all this chaos. So I'm going to do another round of that, maybe a couple more strip sets so I get some variety, and then another round. Now, I will do another one, and I would have the option of using, of course, a different color of intervening strip there. But because I'm doing this as an all-around sort of design, I think I'm going to stick with white going all around on the next round. I've sewed on white strips, and I'm going to trim them before I add on the next row of the prints, because I want these just to be pretty narrow accent strips. This clearly is too wide, and this is even a little wide, I think. So I want to trim those, and this gives me another chance to make it wonky if I like, but I think I want it to follow pretty well the lines of the print that it's next to. Maybe, I'm not sure. We'll see. Let's try it. I'll do one that's a little bit crazy. That one I'm going to leave, and this one I think I'm going to make pretty close to that width, or that line anyway. And now I can start on my second set here. And I did piece some more, but I think I can also use some of this over here. And that is what happens when you trim before you fold back over. That's better. Now, my iron approves too. I should give my iron a name, shouldn't I? Because this is hard. That one up there, maybe. I have this strip, which I could, no, that's a little too close to that over there. That up here. I'm kind of liking that down here. That up there, maybe. So I will do that round and see where we are then. I'll be honest with you. Actually, I plan to always be honest with you. I didn't think I was going to like this with the prints going all the way around, but I'm happy with it. I kind of like it. I like it a lot, actually. It looks very Alice in Wonderland-y to me. I'm not sure why. Maybe this looks like the Queen's crown. I don't know. I do like this. We would have other options in the center here, of course. You could have started with, say, a print square in the center, or even just a solid square. You could have, I could have, we all could have. And then if I had used a solid, I wouldn't have worried about putting a border around it. But if I put another print in there, then I think, well, that one's maybe not a very good example. There's a lot of white in that. I think I probably would have put a narrow white border around this, just because I'd want to differentiate it. The white, and you know I love white in negative space, but that's a little too much in comparison with here. Now when it goes on, say, a white background, it might be completely different. I could do another round of white and then another round of prints. I'm not sure that I don't want to stop now with this and square it up. Straighten the edges, I guess, is the best way to say it. Or I could, I'd want to trim off these pinked edges, but it could just be appliqued as is. I don't think I will do that, but that's a possibility. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out is when I was sewing these, I did add a little bit of a gentle curve in there. Isn't necessary, but I thought that would add to the wonkiness a little bit. And This was not a stressful thing. I started sewing and then I just sort of pulled it over. Don't yank it, don't tug it. You don't want to mess up the timing on your machine. This is a very gentle, kind of like when we're doing curves and you're matching the edges. Just sort of bend it over a little bit and then bend it back again, but not putting any stress on your machine and what it's doing. Because throwing off the timing on your machine is ugly. You do not want to do it. I don't think I could adjust the timing on this machine. I've done it on my long arm, but don't think I would want to try to do it here. So we're going to see how this looks. We're just testing things out here. If we square this up, straighten the edges, sorry. I would lose a lot of fabric if I squared it up, wouldn't I? What do you think? I almost kind of like it better with the ragged edges. How sad is that? Or how happy is that? This starts to look more rigid. It's still wonky, but I like it. And let's kind of just test out what it would look like if we had another round going on here. Does it add to the fun, or does it detract from what we've done so far? These are wider than I would want, of course. Oh, I don't have any strip pieces left to test this out. You could just keep expanding this, of course, to make a whole stinking quilt top out of it. All right, and then if we put this over here, for example, a little wonkiness, I would probably change the width on that. I just don't have enough to do another round. Do you think it might want one more round? What the heck, I'm gonna do one more round, see how that goes. And then I think I'll save the next try for another time when I'm using the solid squares and the gray and the black and white fabrics. So let's do one more round on this and we'll see how that looks. I haven't trimmed these white strips yet, but I wanted to point out that I purposely let this go quite wide down here and narrow here. It begins to look like a pagoda, which is, of course, an architecturally beautiful thing, just not what I'm looking for here. So I'm going to start to move out on this side and in on this side. I don't have to do it completely, and it's fine this way, honestly, but I want to start to bring it in a little bit on the sides here. Otherwise, I'm going to have the whole width of the quilt filled down here and still have half of it up there. The other thing I've been thinking about is what this would look like. I think I have some here. What this would look like with some of our wonky pineapples up next to it. That could be kind of a fun combination. And I think I would want to do it after a round of white strips. They don't need to be that wide, just some narrow ones. Pardon me while I lean down and look up through the camera to see how it looks. Oh, that's not bad. I could live with that. Interesting. Maybe I'll leave this as is. Not that I'm necessarily going to put those next to it, but I do think that would be kind of fun. Maybe these in between and then do another, or I could make these like log cabin. Well, I don't know, but wouldn't that be fun? I think that would be great fun. So maybe I will just leave it this way for now, and later on, as I figure out what to do with it, I might change my mind and add another round. But I think I still do want that round of white. And I'm going to make these edges straight, even though I put a little bit of curve in those. Do I want to do that? Let me do it over here because I don't want them that wide. I know that much. So I think I can leave that as is. And then go from there. This could be kind of interesting. Looks like a maze almost. I gotta trim that off the top. Those little hairs are bugging me. All right. That's going to do it for today then. I will explore the other option with this solid 2.5 inch squares, the grays and the black and white, and see what we might do a little differently with those. But for today, that's going to be it. Sunday, I'm not sure yet. I may do a high five of notions or patterns or something. And then next Wednesday, we'll work on another one of these. Not this particular one, but with the grays, black, and white, you know what I mean. So I will hope to see you on Sunday or Wednesday or both. In the meantime, be well, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.